And I think that one is remember it's part of mine when I come down.
There's so much. I think if you want to go for it, because you've got it recorded here, if we need to just upload it later, we can.
And then
Yeah, get started.
I don't really. I mean, I was when we were checking out the I wrote some stuff around and I wanted to open it up, but
I said, this is your lucky.
I'm not. Jumped up. One time I was interviewing Dallas School too, and I said to him, so what's it like being an actor? Do you I said, do you have like photos of women knocking on your door late at night?
To be a author.
That's just funny. It's just, I don't know what's a sensitive issue or sensitive topic.
Can I check it outside? You keep going. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started here.
I told you guys.
Your winter camp was,
I said, I'm just coming home.
do you want to hear?
Which are
Which and I think like after all the traveling, we'll get to join the summer. What do you thought of that? It's yeah. So you can do that for 3 months. You can just sit.
We're gonna go.
I think
All
so.
right, let's go and get started. All right, so. All right, I'm Dakiapi. We are here with Racing Magpie, the winter camp session for 2024-25. And we have made it what we're trying to do is we're trying to invite the public to have a open discussion and a conversation with community people that have been in the community that have been working. And so me, Peter, and Ray, we sat down and we came up with a list of people to talk to, and we're going to continue doing it. This is the first time we're doing it like this too, so this is just kind of like an open conversation too. But what we wanted to do was just kind of make it available online too, and that's what we were working on just now. But we invited Dollie and she accepted. Thank you, Dollie. And the reason why we selected a certain, I mean, we're going to continue picking people throughout the years to come, I imagine. But this is the first one, and we're not sure how it's going to go. But the reason why we picked Dollie is because her work with language. She's a speaker, she's a teacher, she's been working here with Racing Magpie for 20 years, and she's been there in the community, and we wanted to feature here today. So, Dolly, thank you for joining us. So, you wanna jump in?
No, go ahead.
You ready for questions?
Sure.
All right. So I know, Dolly, can you talk about what it was like for you growing up? And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Oglala, like 7 miles north of that, in between Rocky Ford and Landersville, where Brown lived.
What was that like?
It was I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Grandma. She taught me a lot. I will this was gonna be my walk of life, which she had taught me. I was just talking about Oglala Lakota. She taught me that. She taught me how to cook, sew. And also, the greatest thing was language. Because I'm part of the boarding school era, where it was like, we spoke Lakota, you were beaten. So coming through there, we're still really grateful for Grandma.
What was her name?
Her name, Ella Welding. Name was Ella Anglican woman, until they found out where she came from and what her last name, what her name was. And she came from Standing Rock. And it was afraid of elk.
Afraid of elk?
And so when they found that out, he was afraid of us after that, after he ate to me. Because they knew she was from somewhere, but didn't know where.
Just going back and remembering the time with her, did you ever, like, the things that she told you, did it feel like that it would have a purpose into the future?
Oh, yes, very much.
Can you talk about that?
A lot of the things that she had said and talked about, like when she had brought us out of boarding school, my youngest one didn't go, but my sister next to me did go to boarding school also. And after she had found out that how we were being treated, she felt so bad, all the hurt, the pain that we were going through, she didn't know about. So when she brought us out of there, it was already going to be 12. And put us in school, and then she taught us about I was just talking about how we went home one day and said, Lakota told that this person was what missing that name. And immediately she asked me, did you say anything back? And I said, no. She thought that was the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because I was and really get used to it. So anyway, going back to seriousness and humility. She had asked me if I had said anything back to this person who had said all this mean stuff to me. I told her no, and she thought that was really good.
She was impressed with it?
That was the best thing ever, yeah, to walk away without saying anything. Because she said, if you really had said anything, you would hurt inside for a long time because you had said something back, hurtful. So she said, when that happens, think about it And if you were to respond in a hurtful way back to that person, you would be hurting that person. And you'd be both walking in pain.
Hmm.
So, learning that, you got to clear away all of that hurt that you wanted to be, saying back. But that was the best thing, just walking away.
Do you remember what happened afterwards with that person?
Became my very best friend.
Really?
And later on in life, like maybe 40 years later,
Wow.
came to me and said, I am so sorry for treating you that way. And cried. And I was like, thank you. And gave her a hug. Yeah. So she was doing, not you, she, anyway, was the one who thought about all of this, hurt all and walked with it all this time. Whereas I didn't. I grew.
That's cool.
I thought that was the best thing ever.
I was thinking about this because you brought up boarding school, and I was just thinking about, you know, I remember staying at a boarding school once, and it wasn't pleasant, but like it wasn't what you guys were going through, I'm sure. But what made me think is that, you know, I remember us guys, we were all sleeping, and then they said lights out, and they shut the lights off. And we were there, we're still whispering, talking, you know, and I wondered, when you were in boarding school, did you guys do that too?
We did. When they had put us all to bed and then they shut the lights off, and so we thought, okay, we can. So whispering, we talked about what the lights immediately came back on.
Oh, so as soon as you started whispering.
And we all had to get in line. And we knew it was coming, which wasn't pleasant. You know, it was going to be a painful experience throughout the whole time. And it was. I said, that's where we were our bad knees, because we had to kneel on. Sometimes we had to kneel on sticks.
So they would put a stick down in front of you, and you would have to kneel on it?
On that.
Why?
So let's put our hands, that was their punishment. That was, okay, I don't want to speak Lakota anymore, is probably what their thought was. And there was this one who literally would set us all down. And you know, the mop handles and the broom handles were wood at the time, like cedar or something really heavy. She would literally come around and just hit us in the shins with that. And you know how painful that is when you both pictures. And I said, gee, she chases us around too, but you know, in forgiving them, I said they either paid a lot of money or they didn't pay much. No. But
Who knows?
yeah, who knows? But forgiving them, and then I said, I still pray for them. Because, children they had called us, Wakhan Petra, the sacred ones. Today it's Wakhaja, but back then it was Wakhan Petra. They were all the sacred ones, all the holy ones. So reading, who knows, you know, how they felt after they had realized what they had done, which they did.
Yeah.
You know, who's to say?
What sort of things did you whisper? Do you recall or whatever? And I'm curious too, is it easy to whisper in Lakota? Because in my head, I'm thinking, how are you gonna say like, Dollie Red?
You would say, we have to give. We have to give that a look. You know, like that, but quiet and whisper. How can I whisper? Who can I whisper to? Iris. Okay. No, that's how we would whisper.
That was cool, you know why? Because I couldn't hear even an ounce of what you guys said, just because it was so low. I'm so used to hearing.
So this person had to be really nearby, you know, in order for them to hear us like that. You didn't get my handy. No, just kidding. for that. But anyway, it was very difficult time, you know, with all that, growing up with all that pain. But what really helped us grow was the forgiveness. Forgiving them. And they would continue to walk and repay them. And forgive them when we hurt
Yeah.
us.
When I think about like what you did, I mean, for you went through boarding school, and I think a lot of the language was literally beaten out of our relatives. And when I think about what you did didn't allow that beating to, you know what I mean? You didn't allow that beating to make your language forgetful. And what I wonder about now is that, did you know that you were protecting the language in that sense for the future?
Not at the time I wasn't, and that's why I say I'm very grateful for the land. She didn't speak one word of English. And so that really helped me too within. And so that gives you that, and I really know that before one, always forgive it, I'm really ashamed to speak it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so today I tell the young people, don't be ashamed, learn your language and speak it, because be proud you have your own language to speak. So, that era was like, actually saying it's changing, they all want to learn now.
Yeah.
And Mary said, Mary, are you learning? Are you speaking? I'm very happy and proud.
I have a lot of questions.
Huh.
The one I want to know is, how do you feel about people arguing over language today?
Very hurtful. No, that is, it is, because it was a gift that our ancestors left, and for us to continue. So who has the right to argue about it? You know, who has the right to say, this is the right way? Because it never was a written language. So I always tell the students, there's no right or wrong or correct. And so if I hear something, then I would repeat that word in a different way. So they have to listen. But you would never tell anyone, you're saying it all wrong. No, that's wrong, because then that would put a barrier between them and the language wanting to learn it.
Whenever you were like going through boarding school, was there any thought that you were going to be, I mean, throughout your life before teaching, was there any thought you were going to be teaching the language? Yeah, come on in, come on in.
Oh,
That's where you're going.
it was, I never thought. So when I started at Oglala Lakota College. Years ago. Anyway, that was required, language 1 and 2. So when I went in, I was already, you know, I'm a fluent speaker, Lakota being my first language. And having to learn how to read and write it was difficult.
Really?
And then the instructor at the time said, don't worry about it, you speak it. Just practice with, you know.
Yeah.
And so I did. But I was really, believe it or not, shy. Hey. I was really bashful. And he said, you need to not be that anymore. Because one day if you be standing period, you'd be teaching. I never thought I would. And I've been there for 26 years now.
I was just gonna ask, how did you get into this?
Um,
How did you get into teaching the language?
Okay, even that was such a, for young children, I really lived there for 18 years. And one day, well, I got back from the church and was listening to the messages. And it was a message that we had on the screen.
What year was that? Year
That
one?
was in, 98. Yeah. None of you were born. Anyway. It was, no, it was in 99,
Okay.
right on Labor Day.
Oh.
So I went up there. Well, if you want, you can come and apply for it.
Oh, what job were you doing at the time?
I was, at the time I was with, when I was with Johnson and Malley, it was, I started out as a liaison officer,
Oh, okay.
and then, we continued to make home visits after
Mhm.
that. Get children, then we did school supplies, and then your mom was gone, so I was kind of like taking care of the program by myself. So I thought, yeah, I need to leave. It was 18 years for us to start thinking. I always say,
Wow.
yeah, I always say when you hire me, you can have a hard time getting rid of me. But I was really grateful. I went up there, I applied, and it was after I went before, so I went up there and applied. And she said, okay, can you wait for 45 minutes? I said, sure. And I sat there. And then classes started at 6 during that time.
Mhm.
We went from 6 to 9. So I waited for 45 minutes and she said, okay, your class will start at 6 and gave me a room.
Where was that at?
At the new college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was opened and dedicated in 99 and I started.
Wow, when it opened really. Wow. How many students did you have?
I had like 20,
Wow.
yeah. So I walked in the classroom and the books. I didn't have the syllabus yet.
Mhm.
So I walk in there, I sit down and look around, they're all looking at me like. So I introduced myself and I said, I'm Dollie Red Elk, language speaker. I'm gonna be your instructor and a teacher. And I said, I have nothing, so we're gonna wing this tonight. And some of the students, the older ones, they would say, are you still winging it? Yeah. But that's how we started.
Oh. I was just thinking about it because I know, I mean, as long as I remember going to OLC, you've been an instructor there. I was just thinking about it because the language program now is so advanced now, as opposed to early on in the beginning where it was almost just, let's come in and we're just gonna talk. And here are the colors, sapa, how do you say humility, or something like that. And I really wonder about like language, especially for like our younger people here, because I would love to walk into a store, see another person, especially a young person, and just say, hey, or how, about do I stay, you know, they just start talking to one of the young persons and them to reply in that same language, you know, that holy smokes, that how special do you feel?
Exactly. And that's happening more. Because I have a student in here, but I'm gonna always brag up also. Sat silently for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden, whoa, you know?
Oh, that's me.
And I'm so grateful because he knew, and he spoke.
Hmm.
very respectful. And I was like, I didn't even know all that was about you, you know, you know. And today, that's gonna watch me.
Charlie, I'm up.
I know.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. You know, but, yeah, and he carries and he encourages students to also speak.
cool.
Yeah.
Did it feel like you were going to protect? That you were, did it, whenever you, because whenever I think about this, like the language, I mean, it's one thing is it's kind of scary thinking about I don't know very many first language speakers. I know you're one. That scares me, you know, knowing that at some point the first language speakers are going to be gone. What do you think?
That is, because we're the first language speakers, or language, Lakota was our first language. And when they say Lakota language is dying, that's us.
Mm,
Once we leave, we take the entire library with us,
mm,
you know, and so we have this other language, the new language that's out there. If they learn it that way, then that's okay,
mm.
because they'll be speaking. It's just the written part that you see a lot of this, a lot of different words also that are coming, but if that's how they're gonna speak, that's how they speak.
Mm.
You know,
I wonder how much to you as a first language speaker, do you feel any sort of ownership of the language?
yeah. Because it was a gift from the ancestors.
Mm.
So, no, I don't own it.
Mm.
I teach it as they have said, and as they have left it.
Yeah. Whenever I wonder about this because when I was growing up, my first language, my mother's language, the Navajo.
Mhm.
I have so many phrases in my head in Diné that make me feel certain ways.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's like negative connotation too, like la. I used to I heard that all my like growing up as a kid. If you heard that, you were like, trouble. Like or like you just don't feel good, you know. And when I hear that, like it causes me to like not want to sound like that, you know, like and it really like propels me in a path where I don't even talk. And you know, a lot of these things that come at us when we're young is very impactful to our spirits, that causes us to behave differently in the future and into the way future in your life. And I think about the language in that sense because you're protecting something that could be used negatively so harshly. Whenever somebody said to me, I heard recently, they said there are no such thing as bad words in Lakota. And I thought, that's cool. That's really cool, but like you can say things in a manner that could be harmful, you know? And I think that's what they're really talking about, is that harm that hurts inside of language, because you're very powerful whenever you're speaking two languages, if you have the ability to speak multiple languages. And to communicate is like one of the hardest things to do today. And I find that challenging for a lot of youth, is their ability to connect with their feelings. Because I don't know if they have the connection in English of connecting to that word. And like the word, I love the word I love that word because that's one of the things that I admire in people, and I pay attention to it because it's, if a person has humility in my head, I feel like that person has got a handle on things. And so I really hold that word in high regard. And it's like that with language. And I wonder how like you navigate through, like, now that you've protected it and carried it through, what's keeping you from boasting that? Is it the language that keeps you, or is it grandma, or is it, what keeps you grounded?
All of the above and the wow. It was. And why you own the respect for everything. And then I always tell my students, once you learn your culture and your language, because they walk hand in hand, you can say slowly, I know me.
I like that.
Yep, and see how good that feels, because you know your culture, your language. So you know who you are.
Hmm.
And a long time ago, they had women advisors, they were the grandmas, they were called Kapela,
Mhm.
because they would be sitting somewhere, there would be someone who's, you can go to them, and talk to them, and they'll talk to you. Kapela is just being relaxed.
Hmm.
And then the men, they had the, I know people, men would be offended today. But back then they weren't offended by this. Nirretranka was because you had a big belly. It was because you couldn't, you wasn't, you were being grounded. No, hunting, you didn't go, so yeah, the war. And so they sat around, and they didn't mind that because they've done all their work.
Hmm.
And now they can sit and give advice to the young
Hmm.
men. To just the Kapela and then the Nirretranka.
Cool. Well, growing up, what did that like? I was just curious, like how in the north of Manderson is pretty much, it sounds like where you grew up. But like growing up there, what was it like then? Because as I look at Rapid City today and like the reservation today, it's like so much different. And just looking at the land feels different. And like, what was it like for you growing up in your neck of the woods?
It was very peaceful, I know. And we never sat around. We were always out in the hills. There was a lot of ground to cover, okay? We climbed trees, we did whatever, rolled down hills and, you know, entertained ourselves that way. And we went swimming.
Hmm.
Almost daily, covered ourselves in mud. We didn't realize, we didn't know at the time that that was so expensive today, the mud covering. And but not too long. Nature had a lot to teach us. There was
Oh, I was gonna, this, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You continue, please.
No, go ahead and ask.
Okay, no, what I wanted to know was, what was it like to have the language all around you? Like it was everywhere. What was that like? What is that feeling like?
It was gee, beautiful to be able to wake up and go again, you know. Yeah, I would say, Diane Ishkimahe, or, you know, like that. Everything was from within. Everything. Your spiritual connection was always there. Your spirit was always there. When you go back to boarding school, where they try to beat that out of you. So somebody, right, the spirit comes up, you know, and didn't, their wording was, kill the Indian, saved him.
I wonder about like how different it has become, because I don't, when I growing up in my grandma and grandpa's house, I heard the Navajo language everywhere. And that was all that was spoken, and just hearing it was just, it's so special to hear and hear it all the time. I don't know if our youth know that, to hear it completely surrounded, to hear it like, to hear the pizza man come in and say something in Lakota, or go to someplace else and they hear it and you hear it in Lakota, and then everywhere it's Lakota everywhere, it's coming at you. It's such a wonderful feeling just to hear it and be totally immersed in it. And
It's a descriptive language plus a visual.
yeah,
Chad, when you're speaking it, it's kind of like a video running, because that's your life and language. The minute you wake up, you say a prayer or chant,
mhm,
and then you greet the sun, and that starts your day.
Mm.
It's beautiful. Everything that you see, your walk of life is your language. And so being able to speak it and hear it, it definitely is beautiful.
what I want to do now is I just kind of want to, if it's okay with you, I want to
It's
open it up to everybody out here. If anybody else is interested in asking a question, I'd love to hear from our group.
Especially the young ones. For all of you.
Youngest first.
Do you have any questions for Dolly?
No,
Does anybody want something?
I say that in class 100 times. Anybody have any questions? The answers. But I used to say, Lakota language is sacred, so people were afraid to speak it anymore. Because they thought, they put something bad in it.
Yeah.
So now I don't say that. But there are no bad words in the language, none whatsoever, unless you make it up. This is the language. That's what it will be. But when he had said that, I was thinking about this young man who walked in and I was teaching the words. The first one that came up was Tetrashi, He said, "Oh, what does that mean?" So I said, "Don't do that." Okay, he said. So that's what that means. That was my Lakota name. He said.
I have a question. So I don't know about other people, but for myself, I have like a lot of barriers that I set up when it comes to our language. Just because of how possessive, like some of the people that spoke it were, like even calling it their language, not our language. If somebody was trying to get over those barriers, what do you suggest they do?
The biggest thing would be forgiveness. Forgiveness and then praying about it and then asking for guidance through may address them as Kangashira or Kataka or God, all one. You pray and then the guidance will come to you. And it's very powerful because we have, as Lakota people, we have I was told this, a connection, a direct connection. We got in Monikia. Monikia is from Jesus. Well, so once you start walking and praying hard, these will all come in. The negativeness will go away. Forgiving is a reason. So you start taking those barriers because you're the one that put them. You start taking them away, and then you walk to be free.
I think that's the hardest thing to do is to take away barriers or put there through shame. You're getting killed and shamed about it, or excluded even. Like those barriers that come from those are really tough.
They are tough. Imagine going to boarding school at the age of 6. It is hard. So You can put up barriers and say, no, I don't want, because that's where they wanted you to be ashamed. Be ashamed of your Lakota and speak your language. Be ashamed of where you live, you know. Keep Pessoa or at the time it was log houses, but they didn't think about that. What do they call it? They teepee? It's originally a Pessoa because it was pointed. And they call it teepee. And it still means where he or she lives, but you know, or.
Right, T is kind of like the expression, like where you live, whatever.
Yeah, and then the PI is, we have no S's at the end of our words, the PI is indicating. Well, now I'm gonna start teaching. Hey.
Well,
That's really interesting, because, I mean, like you were saying, it was kind of like a video,
Mhm.
you know, where it's like, because it's a living language.
Yeah,
You know, we think about that a lot, because like when you guys joke, you know, and tease, it's like, it must be really funny to never see it. It's like real.
and humor is also huge in our gatherings,
Yeah.
because one of the students had said, it is what it is. Think about that.
Yeah.
There's nothing, if you don't have the money to pay this, you don't have the money, like that. Think about that.
I think, oh, go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I was gonna just talk about stress, so there should be no warning here in your life, the stress.
what me,
Warning here, we're always worried about something, and that's, so you create your own.
that's my name right there.
I think we need a class on that too, and that just everybody get together and be like, let's talk about this. Because I think a lot of us need to be guided through it. you
Oh,
know?
sure, the
Yeah.
young people do, and I think today, there's very few of us left.
Yeah.
And I think the teacher had categorized elder and elderly. An elder is gonna sit and help you, you know, teach you. An elderly is gonna say, go away, because it happened to some of my students. Yeah,
I feel like the language, like you're looking at that little art piece behind you, you know, like the English is what's written on that little like piece of paper. And then like Lakota, it's more like this, it's raised and you can feel it. you
That's
know?
interesting you say it. that
Yeah,
way,
like so
because-
looking at the language in that way, it's like, oh yeah, you understand why it's more appealing, especially for to
Yeah.
express ourselves. And Lakota, I feel like would be more effective.
It would
that
be.
way.
Yeah, it does, that's a great depiction of that, because you can actually see it, you can almost touch it really, literally.
Yeah.
And you could almost see all that's been there, you know, and then versus, oh, this is what it is, and then they're like,
so that's the-
it's not,
Yeah.
yeah. it's-
what does that
it's-
mean,
it's
you
like-
know? Yeah. So that's true, it's a descriptive and visual language. So as you walk around in that, like you'll see, right here, Makoshicha, Badlands, or Mafia, I think that's what that is. You think about those things. Mafia is also, it's clouds plus heaven. And
I actually,
That's what I was asking.
I was just gonna ask you about that, because, so, Mahbia, I often wonder, like, are there words missing? Because an example of that I think about is like with clouds. Because if you talk about clouds and you say Mahbia, but what kind of clouds? You know, like cloud cover, single cloud, multiple clouds, like, you know, it's kind of like when I think about mushrooms. If I go look at the dictionary and I talk to people, language speakers, about what sort of mushrooms names are out there, I've only identified 3 words for mushroom, but there are there's right now 20-something mushrooms that are edible. And there's not a word for those mushrooms. You know what I mean? That makes me wonder, like, are there words missing? Would you say?
Let's see. Mafia. Mafia, or Shichishas, I like to, there's storm clouds coming. Mafia, which means there's wind spots. And as far as your, some of these last week.
Yeah.
Mafia Waza is like a rain cloud. Not, because iron is kind of grayish.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now they're in the middle of
Must be a Luther, a red cloud, is because seeing the clouds.
that. Like on a sunset.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. Mhm.
I don't know why I was talking about. Anyway.
That's the language. You think about how beautiful it is to start speaking and seeing.
Yeah, and I was listening to Joseph Marshall talk too, and he was saying that in Lakota there was no word for wilderness. And he said because we weren't separated from it, we were part of it. So in Lakota, we had no word for wilderness because that meant that we were separate from it when we weren't, that we lived in it. So I was like, sounds like that.
But then I've heard there's no word for outside.
There you go.
There's the word. There is two words.
Start arguing. No, and then what was the Komitaku they asked? We are all related, which means the plant, trees, sky, rocks, everything. Okay, after prayer, they say you're praying for everything. Because you learn from everything, the trees, plants, they feed you, they give you air, energy. You think about all those things, and that's I'm ended.
I was gonna say, that's probably a good spot where we can cut off now, so. Does anybody else have any questions you want to ask or anything before we cap this one?
I was thinking about, so the shade. I was thinking about that in terms of what kind of a wound it is. What kind of a wound?
It's a very deep wound.
Would you say it's a spirit wound?
It is, yes.
So
It's very,
how to heal is spiritually.
yes, and that is very hard because even today, when you mentioned boarding school, it slightly opens, you know, and I could feel the tears coming back up. Yeah, because that's how painful it was. But I have to keep praying to make it, I know where I can deal with it. If I never dealt with this, I was told I would walk around disliking everybody and disliking everything.
Yeah, we're glad to hate.
Huh, there you go. Dislike with it. And there's also, I tell the students that that's one of the words. And then the other one is noisy. That's what's keeping us all back too, is the jealousy. We don't want people to grow. Now, and the other one is what I gossip. You don't want those in your life. You want everybody to be successful. Don't hurt anybody.
Well, thank you guys all for coming. I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate it. Thank you. I think that's it. You can cap it there.
Yeah, my money.
We have some food here, guys. Let's eat.